friends. I'm Deanna Pazis, and you're listening to the Well and Worthy Life podcast. I'm a certified health coach, and my goal is to help you become the best version of yourself. I've done a lot of things in my life before I found my way here. I've been a saleswoman, a fitness instructor, a business owner, and a mother to 3 boys, and now a grandmother to a beautiful baby girl. Now I'm just trying to live my best life, and I want to share my experience and strategies to help you do the same. That means talking about your physical health, mental health, spiritual health, and everything in between. Let's find the way to your best life together. Hey friends, I'm back with another episode of Well and Worthy Life. And guess what? Today you don't just get me. You've had me by myself for a few times. But today I've got Bridget Kilpatric with me. And Bridget and I met because Bridget reached out to me on, I guess just by text, Bridget? I can't remember. Anyway, we got together and we share some of the same goals, and we are both health coaches, which is pretty awesome. She is actually in her training right now with Institute, what is it? It's IIN is what we call it. It's the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. So I got my health coaching certification, about a year ago, I guess I finished up, almost a year ago. And she is in the midst and already health coaching and got a great website and everything that I'll link in the show notes. But tell me about your path to health coaching and what got you into all of this and organic living and detoxifying your home and all of that.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me, Deanna. It's such a pleasure. And you've been just such a gem to meet. I'm so thankful for it. Being new to Birmingham, so especially being passionate about living healthy, organic lifestyle. As you know, Birmingham is just learning and getting really educated about it. So I'm so excited to be here and be part of that journey for Birmingham in general. But my story, I think your story is always so important because it gives you your why and why you're so passionate. So I grew up in California, and my mom was way ahead of her time. She was very healthy. I grew up on farm-to-table food. I wasn't allowed to have refined sugar, honey, carob for chocolate. I drink kefir. I mean, this was over 40 years ago. So, wow. It was a very different time, and we were definitely not the norm. So I feel fortunate for that. So I did have the foundation since I was born. I was born at home. I mean, I was a home birth. All
really?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, how cool.
Yes. Okay. So anyway, my journey started from birth, really. But as I grew older, my mom actually came down with stage 4 cancer. And, we all thought she was going to die. But she was determined to beat it. And so she, of course, being very savvy and knowledgeable about health, did the alternative route. And she actually beat stage 4 cancer with detoxification, change of diet, nutrition, alternative supplements, and so forth. So she's kind of a miraculous story because not too many people at stage 4 typically come out of it on the good end. Exactly. So that was the beginning.
What type of
She had breast cancer, and she had a massive tumor size of almost like over an orange. I would say bigger than an orange. And they were like, this is it. And she shrank the entire thing, and she beat it by...
So she didn't have surgery or anything?
She ended up having to it was already dead when they took it off. It was seriously a miracle.
That's amazing.
Yes. And it was a mixture. It was a mixture of faith and prayer, and it was a mixture of health and nutrition and diet, and then, of course, intervention from both the alternative and the Western medicine world. Right. So that was such a good role model for me if you have determination, knowledge, and passion, you can beat anything. And I think that's so true. And of course, faith. But so after that, my journey went on as I started getting sick. And I couldn't figure out why. I always felt awful. And I was like, why am I always so tired?
When was this?
I'm in my 20s.
Okay. So you had left home.
I've left home. And, now that I look back, I know why. Because I wasn't eating my clean diet anymore. So I left home, went to college, started to get out.
Pizza. There was chocolate.
Yes, probably too many beers in college and all that. So I started just, and traveling the world and just, living my life. But I always was tired and I felt achy and I couldn't figure out what was going on. And I had tons of inflammation in my body. So finally, I went to an alternative functional medicine doctor, and they're like, you have reaction to gluten. You need to take out, you have major inflammation. So I did. So I started taking out gluten out of my diet, really changing my diet, and it all started changing. I felt better. I could think clearer. So, that was my personal beginning of this journey. Then fast forward, I got married and I had my son, and he was I had an emergency C-section, and I was, stressed out. My son was under distress. It was a serious emergency. It wasn't just a C-section to have a C-section.
So had you planned the birth to be like the birth at home like you had had?
I had planned it to be a water birth, all natural. I had a doula. My mom was there, of course, because she, has gone through it. So I was with alternative doctor, a baby first hospital, where they really encourage water births, natural
And where
births.
did you live at this point?
I was in Atlanta now.
Okay.
So I went from California to New York to Atlanta, and now here I am in Birmingham. So anyways, my son was born, and he was a 4 on the APGAR scale, which was very scary. And he was extremely sick from birth, and I couldn't figure out what was wrong with him. And I just knew in my gut something was really wrong. He was colicky, cried all the time. He never slept. And I had gone back to work, but he wouldn't take up bottles. He wouldn't eat. He wouldn't let anyone else hold him but me. So I knew something was gone. So I went to every specialist under the sun. Everyone's like, oh, no, there's nothing wrong with him. I'm like, no, something is wrong with my son. And I ended up having to quit my job because he wouldn't eat from anybody. I had, a nanny at the time, and he wouldn't eat. So
you were nursing him.
I was nursing him.
And so you were pumping and giving the bottles to her and nothing.
So I eventually had to quit my job because he wouldn't eat. So fast forward, to a year, to 18 months, he still wasn't eating. So I was still having to nurse and he was sick. And so at that point, I was already gluten-free, but I had to give up dairy because he was terrible reflux, sick all the time. And so I knew, I needed to figure out what was wrong with my son. He wasn't starting to hit milestones. Coming on to 2, he wasn't talking. So once again, I turned to my early knowledge and personal knowledge of functional medicine, and I started going to a functional medicine doctor for my son. And sure enough, he had tons of inflammation. He'd been given so many antibiotics. He'd been given so many steroids.
When he was little?
Mm-hmm. From birth, basically.
From birth, yeah.
Yeah, he was just always sick. So then I also learned he was tongue-tied, which is a whole other story for another time, which we treated. But sure enough, as I started working with a functional medicine doctor, I took out dairy out of his diet. I started giving him supplements. He had all these, he was missing zinc and iron and a variety of other important minerals in his body. And I did craniosacral work with him. I started doing chiropractor. His first foods were bone broth, which, as you know, is very healing for the gut, and aloe vera as well.
How old was he at this point?
So I started all of that throughout. Right. But by the time he was 3, he still wasn't talking. So at 3, I finally really was getting on it. And I'm not even kidding. The moment I finally took dairy out of his diet, all inflammatory foods, and put all these good things in his body, he started talking immediately. So it was like miraculous. And to this day, he's thriving. He's in kindergarten.
How old is he now?
He's 6, and he is fully functioning, and he's reading. He's really advanced in math. So, I take great pride because I know I fought hard for him all those years, and I went outside of the box because I had to. So anyhow, that just propelled me forward. And not only that, my husband, when I met him, he was on statin for high cholesterol, hereditary high cholesterol. And I was like, no, you are not going to be on statin for the rest of your life. At 30, he started statin. I'm like, we're going to get you off all your medication. And I'm proud to say
you are a very determined woman. I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah, so I'm proud to say that actually today he is off statin. He's in the best shape of his life. He feels great. He's doing intermittent fasting. I mean, he just feels amazing, and he's so thankful. So, I have lots of stories. So that's my path. I know that was a lot of information, but clearly I'm very passionate about it, and I see it work. And even with my clients that I have, small changes lead to really big results. And I just want to spread the knowledge because we are in one of the most sickest times and truly in a health crisis.
Right.
I agree. Toxins and processed foods and excessive amount of refined sugars that, we're all sick. I mean, as you know, it's, 6 in 10 now Americans have a chronic disease, and 4 in 10 have 2 or more. So it's a time of,
And I bet that's even higher in Alabama.
Alabama is now one of 7 states that are crossing over the 36% obesity rate. So it is a very, very big concern. So there's a lot of people who need help. And I think what's funny is one of my clients just said to me recently, she's like, I never thought about actually getting someone to help me navigate my health journey. She's like, and then I realized, wow, this is like so important. Once she got into it, she realized the power and
here's the thing. So you can do it all right and still have health problems.
Right.
So one of the things you have to advocate is your own health, and you have to dive into finding what is going to work for you. And sometimes I've noticed, especially as people get older, it's harder and harder for them to navigate all of that. And that's one reason why it is important to have a health coach. It sounds like you specialize in really helping people navigate that, whereas I really probably help people more of in a lifestyle version of health, which is part of health too, right?
All part of it.
It really is. It all fits in, which I'm sure you do that part too. But it is interesting, and that's the great thing about different health coaches. You need to talk to different ones to see which one lines up with your goals, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think you attract the type of person that you're going to help.
Exactly.
Exactly. And it is, we like to say happy, healthy, whole, and it is all of that, right? Like, for example, you can be so perfect and healthy, like my mom, and she still ended up with cancer because there's environmental toxins, there's, maybe a stressful occasion in your life that propelled the cancer and the inflammation to occur in your body. So I truly believe that you attract who you need to help and why.
Right. Yeah.
So I think, awesome. It is, and that's why it's so great to have friends who are also health coaches, because it's really a community.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so today we're going to focus. There's so many things. I mean, I could sit here and ask you so many questions, because my health journey is a little bit different than yours in the fact that I didn't really think about the toxins and the things I put in my body, put on my body. I was always into physical fitness, and that was kind of my thing. And then later on, as I got older and closer to my parents' age when they got cancer, then I started thinking, ooh, maybe there's more to all this. So I'm still learning a ton. But you just did a talk recently at Practice Works, and I want to hear more about this, and I knew my audience would love to hear this, about detoxifying your home. Because I agree, it's not just, and I didn't know this either, I mean, I kind of had heard about toxins and stuff like this, and especially in the last year or 2 years, I've learned a lot more. I still don't know a lot, and it seems like every day I'm like, really, that can affect you?
Right.
But I think it's so important for people to know these things and open up your eyes, because it's not just what you put in your body. It is what you put on your body. It's what you clean with. It's what you spend every day around. My husband is, I can't even tell you, I'm so upset. Roundup.
Gosh, that's my first topic.
I know. I'm just like, honey, you cannot spray that stuff. But he loves to go out and spray that stuff around. He's like, it's fine. I don't just spray it every day. It's for people. I'm like, no, you don't spray it. And I have to tell you this quick story, because you will just die when I tell you this story. But my middle son, not last Mother's Day, but Mother's Day before, I was out of town. And so for Mother's Day, he planted me this beautiful garden.
Aww.
Okay, he planted all these fresh vegetables, fresh herbs, and all this. It was a place at my house that somebody had a garden, and so, but he brought in lots of dirt and planted all this. Well, what he didn't realize, there was in the middle, one of the irrigation pipes had busted, and so there was water in the middle. So right in the middle, nothing was growing, and I was growing weeds, and I kind of neglected it, so I started getting all these weeds in it. My husband thought he was going to help me.
Oh, no.
He went out and sprayed Roundup.
On your vegetables and everything
I was
else.
like, I can never use this again, ever. I can't even use this garden spot again.
No.
And he was like, no, I washed it off. It's nothing. I'm like, you don't understand. I'm like, I will never, the only way I could ever use this is dig up all that dirt, get it all out, and put all new dirt in, but I'm scared of even that. So anyway, I had to tell you that story because you were just, and he still to this day does not believe me.
Okay, well, I'm going to send you links to articles that you can forward him.
Thank you. Okay.
I think the biggest thing is, I don't know if you've heard about the Monsanto case that's been, they had a huge loss. They're the ones who own Roundup.
Right. Uh-huh.
So in California, there was a huge lawsuit that was just settled for a groundskeeper who has terminal cancer. $280 million he received. That's not going to save his life, but the point is that's how severe it is. So basically, if you actually Google Roundup, every lawyer under the sun is listed there. If you've ever been exposed to toxins, chemicals, contact me, because now they're starting to lose. The Environmental Working Group, EWG, is really advocating against the Roundup, not only because it's a terrible pesticide chemical that's causing cancer and everything else, but because what you're talking about, it's in our food, and it's glyphosate, which is in the food that most children eat, which is Cheerios.
Cheerios, that's what I'm like.
I know.
People don't get that. I've seen some of my friends that are like influencers, and Cheerios is paying them to, talk about how this is such a great cereal. I'm like, no.
If you are not doing organic oatmeal, organic corns, and you're not even guaranteed that because of runoff. But what's scary is that the correlation charts are out there for the rise in autism and the rise in Alzheimer's with glyphosate/Roundup. There is actual correlation charts. Since the increase of Roundup, there's a perfect increase of autism, increase of dementia, Alzheimer's, perfect, same correlation. So, of course, that's hidden. We don't get to see it, but it's out there. And I have seen these charts and been to conventions and workshops, and I'm sad for my children, the children mostly, because I see them all eating, the Cheerios, and it's in the majority of our cereals.
I know.
But yeah, so pesticides is a huge one. I want to just step back for 1 second, because we do live in a toxic world, and there's over 280,000 chemicals, and it's impossible to avoid it. So there is a bright side. The good news is that we can have knowledge, and knowledge is power, right? And there's so many ways we can get everything out of our system. But there's a lot of steps we can take. And one of the other things is to remember, before you even take a breath, like children, there's 280 toxins in their umbilical cord. So when they come out from birth, just because of our environment, there are a lot of toxins. So, we do need to be very conscious of it and advocate. And it's just like anything, supply and demand, right? So the more we buy more natural products, the more they'll occur on the shelf. And the less we purchase Roundup and other things,
Exactly.
So we want to keep that in mind. But yeah, pesticides, the Roundup, but we're looking at bug sprays and rodent killers and poisons, all of that. We want to remove that. And the Environmental Working Group, the MadeSafe.org, they all have amazing ways to rate what your products are and give you other alternatives.
Maybe you can send me all that so I can link it in our show notes.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. There's some great sites. But like you said, so you got the outside, right?
Yeah.
So let's remove Roundup. But then you want to go to the inside of your home.
Right.
And start looking at your cleaning supplies, because those are very toxic. And one of the biggest things is synthetic fragrances. And I'm sure you know a lot about this as well. And that's found in your cleaning supplies, your candles.
I honestly didn't know this. And what somebody told me recently is they were talking about my laundry detergent.
A laundry detergent is
I was like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So synthetic fragrances, why that is so scary. So as I said, it's found in your cleaning supplies, your candles, air fresheners, laundry detergent, all of that is because it's a catch-all phrase, and they don't by law have to put what's actually in that synthetic fragrance. So it can be any type of chemical that could be an endocrine disruptor, could be cancer-causing, hormone disruptor, all of these side effects from the synthetic fragrance, which we don't know what it is. And it can add hundreds of chemicals within that one term. So anything that says synthetic, you do not want in your home. Mm-hmm. So you definitely, and even if it just says unscented, that doesn't, or fragrance-free, that doesn't guarantee you that you're going to actually have a safe laundry detergent, candle, cleaning product. You really have to dive into the ingredients. And there's actually one that I love, which is called Branch Basics. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's a one product and it works for everything. It's your
you
hand
have to
soap.
tell me.
Yeah,
I mean,
I will. I'll send
me.
you the link. It's a hand soap. It's a laundry detergent, and it's a concentrate, and it comes with all the bottles, and it tells you how much to pour in each one and measure it. And they also have a beautiful blog about how to detoxify your home and tells you all the steps as well. But it's a great product. It's made safe as well, which is a new kind of logo label now for a lot of products, and they have a great database. So there's a lot of alternative products out there that are safe. So Branch Basics is one of my favorite. Another laundry I love, it's called Greenfield's Laundry, and it's just, they send you little refillable little packets, so you're not even buying new jugs. You're just pouring in the powder and you shake it with water. That one's really safe, clean, and actually works. That's the problem, is sometimes the alternatives don't always work as well, and I get it, but it's a trade-off. Are you going to feel better or not feel better? The other thing with synthetic fragrances is about 11% of our population is actually allergic to it, and I'm one of those for sure. Like, I can't even walk down the department aisle with perfumes or in the grocery store with a Tide or the cleaning supplies because it's so overwhelming. It can cause terrible headaches, rashes. And it's also irritating to kids. So think about it. You're wearing it on your body all the time. So any way you can remove anything with synthetic fragrances.
That's really interesting. I mean, I hadn't even thought about all the different ways. What about perfumes? So perfumes, no, you don't.
You really want to turn to essential oils. There are, some more natural rollers. Like if you go to Sprouts or Whole Foods, that'll have the essential oils built in and already make perfumes. I mean, you want to be very, very careful, because think about it. You put it all over your body. I think women in general, what is it? Like, they've already had like 1,500 different chemicals by the time they're done with the day, because you're starting with your shower, which I wanted to mention about chlorine, and we didn't talk about that with the pesticides, but chlorine is also very concerning to use with not only in your water, but also in your laundry detergents. So chlorine bleach, you want to use alternatives. So like an Oxy Boost, and actually Branch Basics has one, but there's a lot of natural Oxy Boosts out there. Also do 7th generation chlorine free bleach, because you're not going to get that chemical. But in the shower too, you'll notice it dries out your skin. So it's so cheap to get a filter on your shower head that takes out the chlorine, so it's not dousing your body in the morning, and you'll notice your skin is softer. It is actually amazing.
That's interesting. I hadn't even thought about chlorine. What about in a pool?
Oh, yes. That's
why.
Gosh,
don't even say anything. We have a pool out back.
Right. That's why saltwater pools are so popular now, because they're not using the chlorine. So you really want a saltwater pool. I mean, that is absolutely ideal. And most pools are moving towards that now.
Right. I did look at changing ours. Our pool is like, 30 years old. And it was my husband was like, we're not changing. So,
anyway, well, progress over perfection, right?
Exactly.
I always talk about baby steps. So, tonight, you don't have to go home and throw everything out, but next time you go out to the store, start making better choices. And that's how you...
I like that.
One thing at a time. So you ran out of your laundry detergent. Okay, this time we're going to choose something clean. And like I said, EWG app, Healthy Living, there's the madesafe.org. You can go in and they actually will rate all your products, and there's scanners. There's 3 different apps out there that you can scan your product. It'll tell you the toxin score level, and that'll really help you. You can go through all of your beauty products. So beauty products is a huge thing as well. Right? So there's so many ingredients in beauty products you want to look for to remove, which includes like phthalates, you don't want parabens, about the cancer, of course, with parabens. All of these are hormone carcinogens, endocrine disruptors.
All that kind of stuff can prevent you from losing weight.
Oh, yes.
I mean, people can say, well, I'm eating all the right stuff, I'm exercising, still can't lose weight. It's because of the endocrine disruptors. Absolutely. And actually, there's a study out there that shows with newborns and babies, I know I keep going back to that, but this is really important because it starts young, that the obesity rate in babies has gone up since the 1980s. And that is because of toxins, like you just said. Really?
And it's actually done by Harvard Public School. And it's actually fascinating because, the babies aren't eating more food. It's just the environment and the toxins that are naturally, unfortunately, in their bodies. So that's so, I know. It is amazing, but you're absolutely right. The inflammation, and I didn't mention that, the reason we want to get rid of toxins is it creates inflammation in your body. And as Deanna just said, that is what causes you to hold on to weight, causes all your chronic pain, and all chronic diseases are caused by inflammation. So one of the things is toxins that you have to remove. So with back to your beauty products, I mean, you want to make sure paraben, PVA free. That's the other thing. Make sure your bottles, you're using glass instead of plastic. Mm-hmm. I mean, that is all very important. The other thing I want to talk about is, metal toxicity, which I think is huge. And actually, I'm fighting right now mercury poisoning.
Me too. I'm like, my metal was high. I'm like, what?
And we
still
probably
can't figure out how.
Ours is environment, clearly, because I only eat wild fish, and I don't have any amalgams in my mouth. So, of course, you want to remove those if you have any. But metal toxicity can cause so many problems from brain fog, to chronic inflammation, as we just mentioned. But that's in your cookware. So you want to look at your cookware. Oh. So, you want to make sure you're using stainless steel, cast iron. You can use some ceramic, but I would be careful, not the ones that are on the infomercials. Yeah. Le Creuset, you can use that expensive line. But in general, stainless steel, cast iron is safe because you want to stay away from the aluminum. You want to stay away from all the coating on your pots and pans because that has PFAs in it, which is the Teflon and the Scotch Guard, kind of that repels water. Anything that repels water is toxic. So non-stick pans are not good. You want to get rid of those because, once again, they're creating that chronic inflammation in your body. And that goes along with your water bottles, right? So your water bottles should also be either glass or stainless steel because you're getting from the plastic the leakage of BPAs or...
So what about this one? Because a friend of mine had said this one was better. Is this better or no? Still, this is a plastic. It says...
I mean, it's great water, but once again...
Because it's in plastic.
It's in plastic. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, we don't want to use plastic of anything because, it does seep into it, and especially if it gets heated up. So, you're safer.
I know, yeah, exactly. And, water bottles sitting in the car, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then
dishwasher.
I used to, this was awful what I used to do, heat up food in the microwave in a plastic. I'm like, oh my gosh. But I think a lot of people still do that.
People still do it. And a lot of the containers they come in are still plastic. And actually, there's another, I can go on and on about studies, but there's another study that if you eat out, majority of the time, you have 35% more chance of finding more levels of the PFAs in your body, the parabens, the BPAs. So, cooking at home and using the proper cookware like stainless steel and glass. Also not using aluminum foil, of course, is a big thing. And then back to your beauty products with aluminum, deodorant.
Oh, I know. Again, I didn't even know this when I was out at Tony Robbins. At his big conference, he was just like, if you are using deodorant with aluminum in it, oh my gosh, you need to stop now. And I was like, what? But I will tell you, and maybe you've got a good alternative for me, but I've had the hardest time finding one that works good. Well,
I do really like NYR Organics deodorant. It does work for me. And so
you'll have to give it to me.
I'll give you one to try. Yeah. And it has 3 flavors, which I love. It's just made from essential oils. There's also native, which a lot of people like. That doesn't personally work for me.
That's the one I think I have, and I'm like, yeah.
There's another one my sister-in-law loves, which is called Blue Basil Botanical, and it's a really tiny company, and she swears by it. Okay. But I think it's also personal. Like, we all have just our own individuality, with our own sense that, we may not react as well to certain essential oils as others or different ingredients. So you do have to try. But I have had a lot of success with the peppermint lime, which I love that combination, and lavender aloe vera.
Okay.
But I'll definitely let you try that. So deodorants is a huge one. Not only for cancer, toxicity, just do not use aluminum. It's okay to sweat. Sweating is good.
I know. It is so, though. The other day, I was in the car, and I was sweating under my underarms, and it was getting all wet, and I was like, trying to air out because that's miserable.
It is. It is. And I definitely understand it's embarrassing, and I've had that, too, where I've had, sweat pits, and I'm like, oh, my gosh, what am I going to do? Pull down the hair. But it is just part of life, and I'd rather have that than
cancer.
Cancer.
Yeah.
So, it's been seen in tumors, especially with breast cancer. So especially women do not even go near that. And of course, makeup, it's in your makeup products. And also your hand soaps, we want to look at the phthalates in it, foaming, the flexible foaming agents that are all put into these products. I mean, this is what you're touching every day. So
what about the antibacterial stuff? Like some people I know, like every 5 minutes they're putting that stuff on their hands.
Well, studies are actually showing that it's not even working.
I agree. I mean, I think it's ridiculous, but I see people do it all the time.
And I think it's just now mental.
And it kills some of the bacteria we need.
Right.
We need good bacteria.
And we actually need some of the bad bacteria too to build our immune system, right? That's how you get it. And really, truly, all you need is soap and water. It doesn't need to be antibacterial. As you said, it's killing off everything. So we're becoming too sterilized. And so, you don't need antibacterial. Honestly, essential oils fight off better for anything else and kill off the germs, because these bugs actually start to mutate and change and can then become stronger resistant to the antibacterial. Lice is a perfect example.
Really?
Yes.
Thank God I don't have to worry about that.
But there's a big problem here in Birmingham with that. And the shampoos aren't working. And honestly, the only thing is essential oils now that are working, because they have become so resistant to the...
Oh, wonderful.
I know. But not only that, that's toxic pesticides you're putting in your kids' hair that you shouldn't be putting. It's killing a bug, so it's also killing and poisoning our bodies. So we do not want to be using, the toxic chemicals anyways on our body. So, I can go on and on and on, but I think the important things they're kind of simple things that you can just do. And number one is for everything, glass, stainless steel, use that instead of using nonstick pans, plastic water bottles, everything. Just if you simply for everything think about, and even your makeup products, anything you buy in containers, it's always safer to go with stainless steel and glass.
Okay, so if you're using stainless steel and glass for your water bottles, so can I just fill it up under the sink, or do I need a water purifier?
Yeah, so that's my next thing. Purify water.
Okay, so you'll have to send me one to link. I think we'll just link a blog post. I think with the show notes, I think it's better.
I know. It's a lot. And there's so many water purifiers out there. Reverse osmosis is supposed to be the best, but it's expensive. So any filtration is important. Don't drink tap water. The problem with our tap water is they're putting in the chlorine, they're having to kill off all the bad stuff, and there actually is a lot of, unfortunately, pharmaceutical drugs in our water because of runoff, because how many people now are in medication that is actually not getting filtered out. So it is really important. So, filter your water, ideally your whole house if possible. If not, do your shower heads so you're at least getting really good, clean water on your body when you shower, and you'll notice improvement in your skin as well. And then the other thing is try to eat at home more, because the more you cook out, the more packaged materials you're getting, the more processed food you're getting. And all of those products are wrapped in something. You don't know what they're cooked on. So it's seeping into your food. You also don't know what they're cooking with. So what materials. So the less it's touched, and you know what products you're eating, what you're putting in your body. Buy organic if possible because of the pesticides.
Yeah, I do know that one.
Right. Well, if you can't do everything, follow the Dirty Dozen. Right. Yeah, exactly. And the Clean 15.
Again, my husband doesn't believe in the apples. He's like, just grab me an apple. I'm like, no, you have to have an organic apple. What do you do with people who do not buy into this? That's the hardest thing.
It is the hardest part. And honestly, I will tell you, it was like my husband, when I met him, are you kidding me? No. There was like the worst possible food, everything in the house. And it's been over time. And he's seen it with his own son. He's seen it with himself.
Yeah. And I think seeing it with his own son probably was huge.
It was. Yeah. It was transformation. Yes, for him it was. So I think all of that is very valid. But I think if you start educating yourself, and as long as you know the why, and you understand why you're doing it, then you can start being more motivated to do it. And more of this is becoming more mainstream. People know it, but they don't always make the right choices because it's hard. Right. And also people feel like it's more expensive. But honestly, if you start looking around and researching your shop sales, it's not necessarily more expensive, because if you eat more fruits and vegetables, maybe they're slightly more expensive with organic, but fruits and vegetables aren't that expensive compared to a packaged food. I mean, packaged foods are pretty expensive, or prepared foods are pretty expensive. I mean, even if you go to fast food now, it's not like dirt cheap.
Right.
So, there is a lot of ways. But I think that's the big thing is make sure you're, filtering your water, trying to shop and eat organic. Use the apps that are out there. Like I said, Environmental Working Group has amazing databases that you can go through you can scan your products. It can give you alternative products. It rates everything. So just make a better choice each time. Mm-hmm. I didn't touch on sunscreen, which is a huge one. But, I don't know how much time we have left.
Wait, go ahead. But I want to make sure everybody knows it.
I hate to get out of order there, but I wanted to mention that because, as you know, there's mineral sunscreen. There's two categories, mineral and chemical filter sunscreen, right? There's so many good sunscreens out there that are safe, and there's so many bad out there that we don't need to use. So the mineral sunscreens are the safe ones. So we want to look for the titanium and the zinc oxide. Those two are the safer ones. Now the chemical fillers, once again, have so many effects, especially on children, and we just cake them on them. And most of us wear it every day on our face too. So we really want to choose a clean sunscreen. You don't want anything, especially the oxybenzone. That's the one that has the most research behind it. That can be cancer-causing, skin irritant. I mean, the list can go on. But really look for, a mineral sunscreen. They do work just as well. You don't always, they don't need to be white. And make you look bad. I mean, Think Baby has a great one too. And I know your Beauty Counter sunscreen is, clean and safe as well and really good for the face. So there's a lot of options. I like Juice Organic sunscreen. I mean, there's so many good ones that work, that look good, and that feel really nice on the skin. There's no reason now, because the demand is so high, that you even have to buy these bad sunscreens.
That's good. Maybe one day they won't even be out there.
Well, I think an Environmental Working Group is working towards that. I mean, they're really great at advocating for that. But as we know, it's a capitalist society, and that's not a bad thing. It's just like cigarettes, right? We know cigarettes cause cancer, but people still choose to do it.
I know. You can still buy them, no problem, right? They go up and up in price, and people that really have no business affording them still buy them.
Right. We all know that eating fast food all the time is bad for us, but people still eat it. So, I mean, you have a choice to choose what you want, and there's always going to be things on the out there for the consumer to purchase that's not healthy. It's just a matter of making better choices, and then as you make better choices and more demand is out there, we'll get more access and more products. So I think that's the important thing. But that's why there's always going to be bad choices, because we live in a free society, which we're lucky to do, but we need to be educated and do what's best.
Well, just like you said, knowledge is power. And if you don't know, it's one thing. But once you know, making those better choices, and you're not going to make those perfect choices all the time.
Right.
But it goes back to that progress over perfection. I think there's a quote like, know better, do better,
Right, exactly. And don't beat yourself up, I am definitely not perfect. I try to walk the walk and live a healthy, organic lifestyle, but are there days that, I used something I probably shouldn't have, or, did I put aluminum foil on something when I was out camping? I mean, there's going to be days that I have made choices that, I know in the back of my head, I probably shouldn't have used that. But I mean, you can't beat yourself up.
Right.
We can just be as good as we can be each day and try our best. And like I said, stay educated, make better choices each time. And it's baby steps. I mean, this has taken me years. It's not like I perfectly detoxified my home overnight.
Right. And I mean, you grew up like this.
Right.
And for somebody like me who just became aware, I try to make better choices every day. Kind of like you said, when I run out of something, I'm like, maybe I should find something, an alternative. So I do think that that's important. And I still think even if you are perfect, you're not going to eliminate all the toxins in the world, because not unless you live in a freaking bubble, right?
It's absolutely impossible. And that leads me to my last point, which is super important. How to detoxify. You need to sweat. Work it out. Get it out of your system, right? So that's how that your skin is the best detoxifier. It's your largest organ. So that's why it's so important what you put on it, you also get out. So sweat, saunas, infrared sauna, working out, getting it out of your system. Also, there's great detoxifiers, just even going on like a liver cleanse. I also did that with my son, got all the toxins out of his body. So, that's really, all those are really important. And then also in your home, put in plants. It's a great way. It's a great air purifier. Put it around your house. So you're going to clean your air naturally. Use an air filter in your house if you like. We have them in a few of our rooms to clean the air. So, there's lots of ways that you can naturally detoxify it out of your system because we can't avoid it.
Right.
There's no way we can avoid all toxins, but we can reduce, right? So if you think about your body like filling up, you want to make sure you keep it out, right? So if you put in a lot, you want to take it out. So make sure you're going to the bathroom regularly, like all of those things. So diet and exercise are important for that, right? To make sure your whole digestive system's working. And then, of course, sweating also. And then, with your home environment, making better choices, but, adding some more plants, filtering your water, simple things like that to improve. So if we can keep the toxins down to a minimum, and we'll live a healthier, happier life.
Wow, that's awesome. Bridget, thank you so much. I'm definitely going to have you back because, we could just talk on and on. But y'all, just remember just to make the best choices. Again, the more you know, the better you can do. And I think the best thing to do, there's so much information here, is I'm going to get Bridget to write a blog post with all the different links that she talked about so that I'll put it with this podcast so that you can just then click on everything and read it, because I do think there's so much important information that we all need, and including me. Some of these things I know, and I'm still, I'm sitting here drinking out of a plastic water bottle, and I thought, well, this one is, I think BPA approved and everything, and it's got ionized hydration. So now I'm like, so again, it's the more you learn, the better you are at making the right choices.
Right. Education is power and it's freedom.
Yeah, exactly. So Bridget, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it. And I hope y'all enjoyed this episode. Hey, y'all. If you have not gone in and subscribed, I don't want you to miss one episode. So go in, subscribe. I'd love for you to rate and review. And if you know somebody who would love this podcast or who needs this podcast, maybe share it with them. If you're sharing it on social media, please tag me, Well and Worthy Life. I would love that. If you ever have any questions, just email me, Deanna, DEANNA, @wellandworthylife.com. Love to hear from you. Y'all have a wonderful day.